She stood defiant on a splintered platform, a wildfire caught in human form, her presence scorching the dust-choked air of this god-forsaken city. Tala. Her bronze skin shimmered under the brutal noon sun, sweat tracing slow, deliberate paths down the curve of her neck, pooling where her tattered dress, barely more than a whisper of fabric, clung to her hips and breasts, the torn strap slipping to bare a thunderbird tattoo, its black wings curling over her shoulder like a lover's touch. Her midnight hair danced wild, brushing her collarbone, teasing the edge of her exposed skin. Those eyes, dark, molten, unyielding, locked onto the crowd, daring them to claim her, promising ruin to any who tried. Her lips, full and parted, caught the light, her breath a quick, unsteady rhythm that made my pulse lurch. I, Jack, had come for a horse, maybe a shot of whiskey to burn away the trail's ache. But her gaze snared me, pulling me to the edge of something forbidden, my hands itching to trace the lines of that tattoo, to feel the heat of her defiance under my fingertips. That mark. I knew it. 5 years ago, dying in the desert's grip, I'd seen its twin on the man who gave me water, her father, who asked nothing in return. The auctioneer barked her price, $5, a spit in the dust. The crowd's laughter clawed at her, their eyes devouring her curves, their hunger a blade against her pride. My blood roared. I stepped forward, voice low, sharp. 5. Her eyes met mine, a spark flaring in their depths, her chest rising fast, the air between us thick with a heat that could burn us both. A drunk bellowed, "He's bought a curse!" The crowd surged, their jeers a venomous wind. I didn't flinch. This wasn't just a sale. It was a debt called due, a vow sealed in blood and sand. Like what you're hearing. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more tales from the wild edge of the West. Things are about to ignite. The coins hit the auctioneer's palm, cold and final, sealing Tala's freedom. Or so I thought. Her wrists, red from the ropes, trembled as the filthy man untied her, shoving her toward me with a sneer. Her eyes met mine again, that storm-dark gaze, now laced with something new. Surprise, maybe, or the ghost of hope. Her breath caught, her chest rising under the thin, torn fabric, and for a moment I felt the weight of her nearness, the heat of her skin so close I could almost taste the dust on it. My fingers brushed her arm as I steadied her, a spark shooting through me, urging me to pull her closer. But I stopped myself. This wasn't the time. Not with the crowd's eyes boring into us, their whispers sharp as knives. "Fools bought a curse," one spat. I ignored them, guiding Tala down the platform, her steps quick, her body tense but proud, the thunderbird tattoo glinting like a secret under the sun. We moved fast through the city's back alleys, her tattered dress catching on jagged walls, revealing flashes of her thigh that made my throat tighten. I forced my eyes ahead, focusing on the livery where my horse waited. Tala stayed close, her breath uneven, her gaze darting over her shoulder, as if the crowd's hunger still chased us. At the stable, I untied my horse, a sturdy bay named Grit. Tala stood silent, her hands rubbing the raw marks on her wrists. "What's your name?" I asked, voice low. She hesitated, then answered, soft but steady. "Tala." I nodded. "I'm Jack." Her eyes flickered, assessing me, and I felt the pull again, her presence like a flame I couldn't touch. I offered my hand to help her onto the saddle. She paused, her fingers grazing mine, warm and deliberate, sending a jolt through me that I buried deep. She climbed up behind me, her body pressed lightly against my back, her hands resting at my waist, and I gritted my teeth to keep my focus on the trail ahead. We rode out as the city faded into a haze of dust, the horizon swallowing its noise. Tala's grip tightened, her breath warm against my neck, and I fought the urge to turn, to see if her eyes still held that fire. Hours later, with the sky bruising purple, We stopped by a dry creek bed to make camp. The stars blinked awake, sharp and countless. I built a small fire, the flames casting shadows across Tala's face as she sat across from me, her knees drawn up, the torn dress slipping slightly to reveal the curve of her shoulder. She spoke, voice low, husky from dust and thirst. My father. He spoke of a man he saved. Was that you? I nodded, the memory of her father's kindness heavy in my chest. He gave me water, a bed, when I was half dead. Never asked my name. Her eyes softened, glistening in the firelight, and she leaned closer, her hair falling forward, brushing her lips. He was like that, she whispered. Our hands brushed as I passed her a tin cup of water, her fingers lingering against mine, warm, electric. The air between us thickened, my pulse racing as her gaze held me, daring me to cross a line. But then she pulled back, her voice hardening. He's dead now. They took him, my sisters, Nika, Sana, burned our village. The weight of her words snapped me back. I leaned back, staring at the stars, forcing the heat in my blood to cool. Who? I asked. Outlaws, she said, her voice ablade. 10, maybe 12. I know their leader's face. I'll never forget it. Her fingers tightened around the cup, her knuckles pale. I saw the pain behind her fire, the loss that fueled her. They're at Devil's Cut, she added. A canyon west of here. That's where they take what they steal. Women, horses, lives. I nodded, the plan forming. We ride at dawn. Hard. She looked at me, her lips curling faintly. Not quite a smile, but enough to make my chest tighten. You're not afraid, she said, not a question. I smirked. Not yet. The fire crackled, the night cold and vast around us. Tala settled against her blanket, her silhouette sharp against the flames, the feather in her hair dancing in the breeze. I lay back, my rifle close, her words echoing in my mind. This wasn't just a debt to her father anymore. It was her fight, her pain, and I'd be damned if I let her face it alone. Dawn broke raw and red, the desert air biting as we broke camp, the stars fading like promises we couldn't keep. Tala moved with quiet purpose, her strange tribal dress cinched tight, the feather in her hair trembling in the chill wind. Her eyes, still fierce, scanned the horizon, her breath misting in the cold. I caught her silhouette against the rising sun, the curve of her waist sharp against the torn fabric, and for a moment, my resolve wavered, a heat stirring I had no right to feel. I shook it off, swinging into the saddle. Tala climbed up behind me, her hands firm at my waist, her warmth seeping through my shirt, a distraction I couldn't afford. Grit's hooves kicked up dust as we rode hard, the desert stretching merciless before us. Cacti like sentinels, rocks like graves. Tala's voice, low and steady, guided me. There, she murmured, pointing to shallow hoofprints in the dry earth, then a snapped branch, ashes from a dead fire. Her knowledge of this land was a map no white man could read, and I felt clumsy beside her quiet expertise. By noon we found deep ruts, fresh, too many horses to count. Tala slid off Grit, kneeling, her fingers tracing the grooves, her hair falling over her face, brushing her lips. She looked up, her eyes locking on mine, a silent challenge in their depths, her breath quickening as she rose, so close I could smell the desert on her skin. They're careless, she said, voice husky. Overconfident. My hand twitched, wanting to brush that hair back, but her words cut through the haze. They know I escaped. We can't stop. We rode on, the sun climbing, heat pressing down like a fist. Dust painted the sky purple when we crested a ridge and saw it. Devil's Cut, a jagged scar in the earth, swallowing the last light. Smoke curled from its depths, voices drifting up, coarse with liquor and malice. Tala's fingers tightened on my arm, her nails grazing my skin, sending a jolt through me. "My sisters," she whispered, her voice raw, her body tensing against mine. I pulled her back, my hand lingering on her shoulder, her heat burning through me. "We wait," I said, voice low, "till they sleep." Her eyes met mine, fierce but trusting, and I felt the weight of her faith, heavier than any gun. We hid Grit behind boulders and crept to the canyon's edge, my rifle ready, Tala's knife glinting in her hand. Below, the outlaw camp sprawled. 3 wagons, half a dozen horses, and at least 10 men, their laughter sharp. Nika and Sana sat bound near the fire, their faces pale but proud, echoes of Tala's defiance. A new figure emerged from the shadows, a lean, scarred man with a cruel grin, his pistol glinting as he barked orders. Tala's breath hitched, her body stiffening. "That's him," she hissed. "The leader, the one who killed my father." Her eyes burned, and I felt her rage, a mirror to the fire in my own chest. Night fell, black and heavy. The outlaws drank, their voices slurring, until one by one they collapsed into their blankets. The scarred leader lingered, his gaze raking the sisters, a predator sizing up prey. Tala's hand gripped her knife, her knuckles white, her chest rising fast under the thin dress. I touched her wrist, stopping her, my fingers brushing her pulse, racing like my own. "Not yet," I whispered. She nodded, but her eyes never left her sister's. We slipped down a goat trail, shadows swallowing us. The sentry, half drunk, leaned on his rifle, snoring. Tala moved like a ghost, her knife flashing across his throat before he could blink. She eased him down, wiping the blade on his coat, her movements swift, lethal, and God help me, beautiful. We reached the sisters, Tala cutting their ropes with a whisper. Nika's eyes widened. Sana stifled a sob. We were almost clear when a bottle clinked against stone. An outlaw stirred, blinking at us. My knife sank into his chest before he could shout, but another woke, then another. Gunshots cracked, bullets sparking off rock. We ran, Tala pulling her sisters, their skirts catching on jagged stone. I fired back, dropping one man, then another, as we scrambled up the trail. The scarred leader's voice roared below, promising blood. We scrambled up the ridge, bullets whining past, kicking up dust as Nika and Sana clung to Tala, their breaths ragged, their skirts tearing on jagged rock. I fired back, my rifle's crack echoing through the night, dropping another outlaw before he could draw. Tala's knife flashed, cutting down a shadow that lunged from the dark, her movements sharp, relentless. We reached the boulders where Grit waited, skittish but loyal. Tala boosted Sana into the saddle, then Nika, her hands steady despite the chaos. I mounted, pulling Tala up behind me, her body pressed tight against mine, her breath hot on my neck, a fleeting distraction as bullets sparked below. We thundered into the desert, the scarred leader's shouts fading, but his promise of blood lingered like a storm on the horizon. The moon hung high, silver light painting the plains as we rode hard, the horses slick with sweat. We stopped only when their legs began to falter, dismounting in a shallow wash. Nika and Sana collapsed, sobbing in each other's arms, their faces pale, but alive. Tala stood apart, her eyes fixed on the black line of the canyon, the feather in her hair catching the moonlight. I approached, my boots crunching softly. "You kept your word," I said. She turned, her gaze softening, her lips parting as if to speak. But instead, she stepped closer, her fingers brushing my chest, the heat of her touch searing through my shirt. The air thickened, her breath quick, her eyes searching mine, pulling me toward a line I'd fought to hold. "Not yet," she whispered, her voice low, raw. "Not until he pays." Her hand fell, the moment breaking, but the fire in her eyes burned deeper, a vow to her father's ghost. Dawn bled red across the desert. We hadn't slept. Our eyes locked on the horizon, knowing they'd come. Dust rose in the distance, a faint rumble of hooves. Tala tied her hair back, the curve of her neck exposed, her knife glinting in the morning light, a vision of vengeance that made my pulse race. I checked my rifle, each cartridge a prayer. "They'll follow the canyon trail," she said, voice steady. "They think we're running." I nodded. "We ain't." Her lips twitched, almost a smile. "We end this." We rode south to Death's Hollow, a narrow cut in the earth, perfect for an ambush. We hid Nika and Sana in a shallow cave above the trail, their eyes wide with fear but trust. I took a ledge overlooking the path, rifle ready. Tala crouched below, setting traps, stones to trip horses, branches to slow boots. Her movements were swift, her dress catching on rocks, revealing flashes of her thigh that I forced myself to ignore. The hoofbeats grew louder, voices cursing, the scarred leader's sneer clear even from a distance. 10 men, maybe 12, rode hard, guns drawn, blind to us. I took a breath, sighted the leader, and fired. He pitched forward, his horse screaming as it reared. Chaos erupted. Horses crashed. Men shouted, scrambling for cover. I fired again, dropping another. Below, Tala sprang from her hiding place, her knife slicing through the first man to dismount, his blood staining the dust. The outlaws charged the slope, but Tala's traps sent rocks tumbling, their boots slipping. I kept firing, each shot a thunderclap, each body buying us time. One man got close, his pistol aimed at me, but Tala dragged him back, her blade buried in his ribs. 2 broke and ran, abandoning their horses. I dropped one, the other vanished into the rocks. Silence fell, heavy with dust and gunpowder. I climbed down, heart pounding, finding Tala in the center of the hollow. Her hair wild, her knife red, her chest heaving under the torn dress. She looked like a goddess of war, beautiful and deadly. The last outlaw crawled from the rocks, clutching a bleeding leg, his eyes wide as Tala approached, slow, deliberate. "You killed my father," she said, her voice ice. His mouth opened, but her knife flashed, and he stilled. She wiped the blade on her skirt, turning to me. "Now it's done." We gathered what we could, ammunition, water, and let the outlaws' horses scatter. Nika and Sana emerged, clinging to Tala, their whispers soft, reverent. We mounted up, the desert stretching before us, the weight of the fight lifting, if only for a moment. The desert stretched silver under the moonlight, the stars spilling thick across the sky as we rode north, the weight of Death's Hollow behind us. Tala rode between Nika and Sana, their hands clinging to her, their faces etched with exhaustion, but alive with hope. I kept pace, my eyes on the horizon, the ache in my bones nothing compared to the fire in my chest. The land softened as we neared the mountains, stones giving way to grass, the air turning cool and green. By dawn, their valley opened below, smoke curling from low huts, the river glinting like a promise kept. We stopped at the ridge, the sisters' eyes wide, drinking in home. Tala's feather trembled in the breeze, her jaw set, but her gaze glistening. "This is it," she murmured. I dismounted, helping them down, my hands steady, but my heart heavy. The village stirred, children running, women with baskets, men with spears, their voices hushed as they saw us. When they recognized Tala, Nika, and Sana, a ripple of joy broke through, tears falling like rain on dry earth. An elder stepped forward, tall, his white feathers stark against the morning light. He looked at the sisters, then at me, his eyes unreadable. Tala stepped forward, her voice steady. "They're safe. The men who took them are gone." The elder nodded, speaking words I didn't know. Tala translated, soft but firm. The debt is paid. The people gathered, touching the sisters' faces, whispering comfort. Tala stood among them, her shoulders straight, but turned back to me. "You'll go now," she said, not a question. I studied her proud stance, her weary eyes, the faint hope in them. "You'll be all right," I said. She nodded, glancing at her sisters. "I've got them now." I tipped my hat, turning to leave, but her voice stopped me. "Jack?" I looked back. Her eyes held mine, steady, grateful. "Thank you." I gave a small nod. No words left. I rode out alone, the desert opening wide, endless but not empty. From the ridge, I glanced back. The three sisters stood at the village's edge, their silhouettes sharp against the sunrise. I raised a hand, and though I couldn't hear them, I felt the weight lift from my chest, light as the feather in her hair. Some debts are worth every drop of blood. Like what you're hearing. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more tales from the Wild West.